So let us discuss about the antifungal drugs. The azole group of the antifungal drugs, that is ketoconazole, fluconazole, itraconazole. So here we can see the classification of the azoles, and these azoles, they are classified into the imidazoles and triazoles. The imidazoles, we can see here the topical and systemic imidazoles. Certain imidazoles, they are highly toxic on systemic use, and therefore they are used only topically, like the clotrimazole, iconazole, miconazole, and oxyconazole, which are used for the superficial mycosis. Then we have the systemic imidazole, like ketoconazole, which is used for the treating the deep mycosis. Then the triazoles, these triazoles, they are administered systemically, and they are less toxic as compared to the imidazoles. So we have the fluconazole, itraconazole. They have almost replaced the ketoconazole for the treatment of the systemic mycosis or the deep mycosis, because the fluconazole, itraconazole, they are having greater efficacy, longer T-half, and the fewer side effects. And we also have some newer triazoles like the voriconazole and posaconazole. So we can see that the azoles, they are the most extensively used antifungal drugs, and they have a broad spectrum of activity, as they are active against dermatophytes, that is the ringworm infection. So superficial mycosis caused by the dermatophytes and candida. So they have a broad spectrum activity against dermatophytes and candida. Then besides this, they are also effective against the systemic mycosis, that is deep mycosis, fungi causing deep mycosis, except the mucormycosis. So in mucormycosis, it is only posaconazole which is effective. And the fungi which are causing the deep mycosis, the azoles are very effective against the blastomyces dermatitis, histoplasma capsulatum, paracoccidioides brasiliensis, and other fungi which are causing the deep mycosis. Then also the azoles, they do not possess any significant antibacterial or anti-parasitic activity, except that they are also useful in nocardia and leishmania. If you see the chemical structure of the azoles, these azoles are synthetic compounds, and they are classified as imidazoles or triazoles. These imidazoles, they have 2 nitrogen in the azole ring, while the triazoles, they have 3 nitrogen in the azole ring, as you can see here in the diagram. The triazoles, they are administered systemically, and they are supposed to be less toxic to the human cells, and they are less toxic to the human cells. This is because they have less effect on the human sterol synthesis, and they are also slowly metabolized as compared to the imidazoles. Therefore, the triazoles are preferred over the imidazoles. Now, coming to the mechanism of action of the azoles, both the imidazoles and triazoles, they share the same mechanism of action and the same antifungal spectrum. So we can see here the mechanism of action of the azoles, that they inhibit the fungal cytochrome enzyme, that is the lanosterol 14 alpha demethylase enzyme, which is responsible for production of the 14 alpha methylsterol. And because it inhibits this 14 alpha demethylase enzyme, it decreases the ergosterol synthesis, and there is the ergosterol deficiency takes place, which inhibits the fungal replication, and it interferes with the fungal of the this function of the fungal enzymes, that is the ATPase, and it inhibits the fungal growth. So it's responsible for the fungistatic action of the azoles. So we can see that in this diagram, we can see the azoles, they act by inhibiting the fungal cytochrome P450 enzyme. This is the 14 alpha lanosterol demethylase enzyme, and by inhibiting this enzyme, it leads to dysfunction, and it impairs the synthesis of the ergosterol. Because the ergosterol synthesis is inhibited, then this leads to a cascade of membrane abnormalities in the fungus. So as we know that the 14-alpha lenosterol demethylase enzyme, the compound which is synthesized, that is conversion of lenosterol to 14-alpha methylsterol. So this compound is because the 14-alpha and lenosterol demethylase enzyme, this is inhibited by the azoles. So this is a step before synthesis of the ergosterol. So because this is inhibited, this alters the membrane phospholipids, and this is responsible for inhibition of the function of the membrane bound enzyme, that is the ATPase. And because of this, it inhibits the growth of the fungi, that it is responsible for the fungistatic action of the azoles. So the permeability of the cell membrane of the fungal cell is increased, and this leads to inhibition of the growth of the fungi. So we have the fungistatic action of the azoles. So coming to the imidazoles, the topical imidazole, clotrimazole, this is the most commonly used topical imidazole, and it is effective in the treatment of tinea infection, that is the ringworm infection. And there is, it is said that about 60 to 100% cure rate is reported with 2 to 4 weeks of treatment. And clotrimazole, it is applied twice daily, and it is also useful for the athlete's foot, automycosis, for the oral cutaneous and the vaginal candidiasis. Also, it is very effective. In vaginitis, it is favored because of the long-lasting residual effect after the once daily application. So it is given in vaginitis as a 7 days course, and it is also useful in the oropharyngeal candidiasis, where it is given as a 10 milligram troche, which is it is sucked orally. It is dissolved in the mouth, and 3 to 4 times per day, or a lotion or gel is applied, which can be swirled in the mouth. So in this way, it is very useful in treating the oropharyngeal candidiasis. Also, skin infection caused by corynebacteria, also it is clotrimazole is effective. But clotrimazole, just like other topical antifungal drugs, it has poor efficacy against the infection which is involving a large body surface area, like the tinea capitis involving the scalp, or the tinea unguem affecting the nails. So it has less efficacy in this. As far as the adverse effects are concerned, it is well tolerated. Local irritation with stinging and burning sensation can occur, and there is no systemic toxicity. As far as the different preparations of clotrimazole is concerned, it is available as a 1% lotion, cream, and powder, and also 1% eardrop with 2% lidocaine is also available. And 100 milligram vaginal tablets is available for the vulvovaginal candidiasis, and it is to be administered at bedtime. Then coming to iconazole, iconazole is a derivative of miconazole, and it is having action similar to the clotrimazole, and it rapidly penetrates the superficial layers of the skin, that is the stratum corneum, and it is highly effective in dermatophytosis, in automycosis, and oral thrush. In oral thrush, it is somewhat inferior to the clotrimazole. It is somewhat inferior to the clotrimazole as far as the treatment of vaginitis is concerned. No adverse effects are there except the local irritation has been reported in few cases. It is available as different preparations, like 1% ointment, 150 milligram of the vaginal tablets, and these have to be applied twice daily. Then coming to miconazole, miconazole is a congener of the iconazole. It is highly efficacious, having more than 90% of the cure rate, and it is a useful drug for the tinea pedis, tinea cruris, and it is also useful in the pityriasis versicolor, in automycosis, in cutaneous and vulvovaginal candidiasis. Because of its good penetration power, a single application on the skin acts for a few days. And as far as the adverse effect is concerned, irritation after the cutaneous application is not very common, but high reports of the vaginal irritation is there as compared to the in comparison to the clotrimazole. And the different preparations are, it is available as a 2% gel, 2% powder, 2% ointment, and 100 milligram of the vaginal ovules. Then coming to the oxyconazole, which is another topical imidazole, and it is a newer antifungal, and it is very, very effective in the tinea and other dermatophytic infections and vaginal candidiasis. Also, some adverse effects in the form of local irritation has been reported by few patients, and the preparation of oxyconazole 1% is available with benzoic acid. Benzoic acid 0.25% cream lotion, which can be applied topically once or twice daily. So benzoic acid, you remember in pharmacy we make this Whitfield's ointment. So this benzoic acid is a having also the antifungal action, weak antifungal action. So it is sometimes combined with the oxyconazole. Then coming to the ketoconazole, this is drug imidazoles. This is used systemically. It is the first orally effective broad spectrum antifungal drug, and it is useful in dermatophytosis as well as in the deep mycosis. So both superficial and deep mycosis, it is useful, but the use has been overshadowed by the availability of the newer triazoles, which happen to be less toxic and having better efficacy. As far as the pharmacokinetics is concerned, oral absorption of ketoconazole is facilitated by the gastric acidity, and so gastric acidity increases the absorption of the ketoconazole. Hepatic metabolism is extensive. Metabolites are excreted in urine and feces, and it has a variable T half of 4 to 8 hours. The oral dose is about 200 milligram once daily, but as far as systemic use of ketoconazole is concerned, this is very less now, and we have done away with the most of the systemic use of ketoconazole because of the associated disadvantages. So if you see the different preparations, 200 milligram tablets are available, and ointments, shampoo, 2% cream and 2% lotion, these are available. As far as the adverse effects of ketoconazole is concerned, ketoconazole produces more side effects than as compared to the fluconazole or itraconazole, and the most common side effects are nausea and vomiting. Other side effects are loss of appetite, headache, paresthesia, rashes, hair loss. And the major drawback of ketoconazole is the hormonal effect. As we know that it decreases the androgen production from the testes and displaces the testosterone from the protein binding sites, and it can lead to gynecomastia, loss of hair and libido, and oligospermia. So these can occur when the drug is used for few weeks. Also, the menstrual irregularities can occur in the woman due to suppression of the estradiol synthesis. And further, dose-dependent decrease in serum hydrocortisone has also been seen because of inhibition of its synthesis. So as far as the drug interactions are concerned, ketoconazole and most of the azoles, they interact with several drugs, and due consideration must be given whenever the azoles are co-prescribed with the other drugs. As far as the uses of ketoconazole is concerned, it is used as a lotion, shampoo. Ketoconazole is useful, very effective in the seborrhea of the scalp and in treatment of dandruff. It is in pityriasis versicolor, involving a limited area of the skin. It can be treated with the topical lotion, and weekly treatment can prevent the recurrence. As far as orally ketoconazole is concerned, which we are using it for the systemic mycosis. Orally, it has been seen that in dermatophytosis, it is effective because it is concentrated in the stratum corneum. But because of the associated adverse effects, the use is restricted. Then in monilial vaginitis, oral ketoconazole for 5 to 7 days, it is reserved for the recurrent cases or those which are not responding to the topical agents. So last but not the least, high dose ketoconazole. This dose is around 800 to 1200 milligram per day. This can be used in Cushing's syndrome, and with the idea that to decrease the corticosteroid production. So coming to the different drug interactions which are associated with azoles, as we know that ketoconazole and most of the azoles, they interact with several drugs, and due consideration must be given whenever these azoles are co-prescribed with the other drugs. And as you know, in general pharmacology, it is already known to you that ketoconazole is a very classical example of an enzyme inhibitor. So we can see that the concentration of many of the drugs, they are increased by the azoles. And ketoconazole, it inhibits the cytochrome P450 on enzymes, and it will inhibit the metabolism of several drugs. And because of inhibition of metabolism of several drugs, it will lead to increase in the blood levels of these drugs. And if the blood levels of these drugs will increase, it will lead to toxicity. So we can see that drugs like phenytoin, digoxin, warfarin, these levels are increased, as well as the drugs like terfenadine, estimazole, cisapride. The arrhythmogenic potential of the cisapride, terfenadine, and estimazole, these is increased. Then HIV protease inhibitors, sulfonylureas, which are hypoglycemic drugs. So if the blood level suddenly increases, it will lead to the toxicity. So hypolipidemic statins and the calcium channel blockers like the dihydropyridine, like the nifedipine. Then also, so we can see that the azoles, they will inhibit the metabolism of a large number of drugs, and these are the different examples of the drugs whose levels, if they are increased, they will lead to toxicity. So ketoconazole is an enzyme inhibitor, and it will lead to number of drug interactions. Then as far as itraconazole is concerned, it inhibits the cytochrome P450 enzyme, that is the cytochrome 3A4 enzyme, and also it affects the metabolism of other drugs, but this is less marked as compared to the ketoconazole. So it is less than the ketoconazole. And so it will also increase the plasma levels of different drugs like phenytoin, digoxin, sulfonylureas, and warfarin. These are also increased by the itraconazole, but it is less as compared to the ketoconazole. And if we see the drug interaction potential of fluconazole, this is the lowest among the different azole antifungals. And although we have to remember that the plasma levels of different drugs like phenytoin, cyclosporine, these can increase, and these have been observed to increase. So we have to be exercising the caution whenever we co-administer the different azoles with the other drugs. There is always a tendency that the drug interactions can take place. So azoles, they will inhibit metabolism of large number of drugs, although fluconazole is having the lowest potential for among the different azole antifungal drugs. Then secondly, we can see that there are some drugs which can also increase the concentration of azoles on the other hand. So on the other hand, we can see clarithromycin, which is a macrolide, and HIV protease inhibitors. They can reduce the itraconazole metabolism, and by reducing the metabolism, they will increase the blood level of the itraconazole. So this is seen with levels of itraconazole is increased by these drugs. Then there are some, thirdly, we can see the drugs, they can reduce the concentration of the, reducing the concentration of the azoles. So there are some enzyme inducer drugs, we know, good examples of enzyme inducer drug like rifampicin, then phenytoin, carbamazepine, phenobarbital. So these enzyme inducer drug, they will induce the metabolism of the other drug, and they will decrease the efficacy. So it is seen that enzyme inducers, they can induce the ketoconazole metabolism and decrease the efficacy. Also the enzyme inducers, they can induce the itraconazole metabolism, and they can lead to decrease in the efficacy. And lastly, a word about the substances which can increase the pH. Now there are some azoles which are very effectively absorbed in presence of the gastric acid and in presence of food. So if this gastric acid secretion, it is reduced, so if the gastric acid secretion is reduced by H2 blockers or protein pump inhibitors or the antacids, so these drugs, they will increase the pH So they will decrease, these drugs will decrease the gastric acidity, and they will decrease the oral absorption of ketoconazole, itraconazole, as well as they will also decrease the absorption of posaconazole also, because posaconazole, which is a newer triazole, its absorption is also increased by low pH and fatty food. So if the H2 blockers are given with drugs like ketoconazole, itraconazole, they will increase the gastric pH and they will decrease the absorption of these drugs. As far as proton pump inhibitors and H2 blockers are concerned, they do not affect the absorption of fluconazole. Uh, and as far as voriconazole is concerned, voriconazole is an enzyme inhibitor. It inhibits the cytochrome enzymes, and the drug interaction profile of voriconazole, which is a newer triazole, it is similar to the itraconazole. And as far as food is concerned, and this voriconazole absorption is decreased in presence of fatty food. So it is said that this voriconazole is given either 1 hour before the meals or 1 hour after the meals, because food affects its absorption. So we can see that maximum interactions, they occur with the itraconazole. Now let us see the comparison between ketoconazole, which is a imidazole, and fluconazole, which is a triazole. So we can see that ketoconazole is a imidazole, fluconazole is a triazole, and as far as the water solubility and bioavailability is concerned, it is low in case of ketoconazole, but it is high in cases of fluconazole. And the CSF levels are also high in cases of fluconazole, because of which it is very useful. It is very effective in the fungal meningitis. Fluconazole is effective, whereas ketoconazole is not effective in the fungal meningitis. And the antifungal spectrum is narrow in cases of ketoconazole, whereas it is wide and broad spectrum in the fluconazole. And as far as corticosteroid suppression is concerned, we know that major drawback of the ketoconazole is the hormonal effect. So this corticosteroid suppression is not there. Unlike the ketoconazole, fluconazole does not inhibit the steroid synthesis in men. And as far as usage is concerned, we know that ketoconazole is no longer used for treating the systemic mycosis, and it is limited to treating the superficial mycosis, that is the fungal skin infections, whereas fluconazole is used both for the systemic as well as the dermatological fungal infections. Then, so we have seen the imidazoles, we have seen the topical imidazoles, clotrimazole, iconazole, miconazole, oxyconazole, and we have seen the systemic imidazole, that is the ketoconazole. Now we are coming to triazoles, and we know that triazoles, they are used systemically, and because they are less toxic. So we have fluconazole, which is a water-soluble triazole, and it has a widest safety margin as compared to the different azoles. It has a wide range of activity as compared to the ketoconazole. It is effective in cryptococcal meningitis, in systemic and mucosal candidiasis, both in the normal and immunocompromised patients. It is also useful in coccidioidal meningitis and some of the tinea infections. As far as pharmacokinetics is concerned, fluconazole is 94% absorbed. It has an oral viability which is not affected by food or the gastric pH. As I have already mentioned, that the oral viability of fluconazole is not affected by food or the gastric pH. It is excreted unchanged in urine, and the T half is about 25 to 30 hours. It has fungicidal concentrations are achieved in the nails, vagina, and the saliva. And it is preferred for the fungal meningitis because it has a good penetration into the brain and the CSF. So dose reduction, however, is needed in the renal impairment because it is having a renal elimination. So dose reduction is needed during the renal impairment if there is any dysfunction of the kidneys. As far as the adverse effects of fluconazole is concerned, the gastrointestinal tolerability of the fluconazole is better as compared to the other azoles. However, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, rash, headache, they are produced, and the incidence and severity of the side effects, it increases with the dose and duration of therapy. Selectivity for the cytochrome P450 fungal enzyme, that is the 14-alpha lanosterol demethylase enzyme, which is responsible for conversion of lanosterol to ergosterol. This selectivity for the fungal cytochrome, this particular enzyme, it is higher with the fluconazole. It does not inhibit the steroid synthesis in men, unlike the ketoconazole, because ketoconazole, anti-androgen and other endocrine side effects occur with ketoconazole. This does not occur with fluconazole. And it sometimes the increase in the hepatic transaminase enzyme, it is noted in the AIDS patient. Fluconazole, however, is not recommended in the pregnant and lactating women. And we have already seen, as far as the drug interaction is concerned, it has the lowest potential among the different azoles. So fluconazole also affects the hepatic drug metabolism, but it is to a lesser extent as compared to the ketoconazole. It increases plasma levels of phenytoin, cyclosporine, warfarin, sulfonylureas, and therefore caution needs to be there in when we are applying, it is given, applied, or it is co-administered with other drugs. But the drug interaction potential is the lowest among the different azoles. As far as the uses of fluconazole is concerned, fluconazole is administered orally, and also it can be given intravenously in the severe infections. And different preparations of fluconazole are available: 50 milligram, 100, or 150 and 200 milligram of the capsules. And for intravenous infusion, it is available as 200 milligram per 100 ml IV infusion. It is also available as eye drop, 0.3% eye drop, which is fluconazole eye drop is very useful for the fungal keratitis. So as far as the systemic use is concerned, and it is used in different fungal infections like the vaginal candidiasis, a single 150 milligram oral dose is very useful to cure the vaginal candidiasis. And in oropharyngeal candidiasis, it can be given as a 100 milligram per day dose is given for 2 weeks, and this is highly effective in the oropharyngeal candidiasis. In Candida esophagitis also, 100 milligram per day, it is given for 2 to 3 weeks, and this is the first line treatment, and it is quite useful. In most of the tinea infections, including the pityriasis versicolor, it is given as a 150 milligram dose weekly, and it is given for 4 weeks. For disseminated candidiasis and for cryptococcal as well as coccidioidal meningitis, in coccidioidal meningitis, it is preferred over the amphotericin B, because fluconazole is a drug of choice for the coccidioidal meningitis because it has a good CSF penetration, and many times it is given as a dose of 200 to 400 milligram per day for 4 to 12 weeks, or maybe a little longer for the treating the meningitis and other systemic fungal infections. Also in candidemia, IV therapy is initiated initially, and then later on it is continued orally. And in AIDS patient with fungal meningitis, initially the treatment is started with intravenous amphotericin B, and long-term use oral fluconazole is given as a maintenance therapy. So besides this, it is seen that as far as aspergillosis and mucormycosis is concerned, for mucormycosis, posaconazole is the only azole which is effective. And as far as aspergillosis is concerned, amphotericin B and caspofungin is very useful, but fluconazole is ineffective against the aspergillosis and the mucormycosis. And also in treating the histoplasma, blastomycosis and sporotrichosis, and tinea anguem, fluconazole is somewhat found to be inferior to the itraconazole. Now coming to the itraconazole. Itraconazole is an orally active triazole antifungal, and this is most potent azole, and it has a broad spectrum activity as compared to the ketoconazole or fluconazole. And as you can see, it is effective against the aspergillus as well as against fluconazole resistant candida. So fluconazole resistant candida is also susceptible to the itraconazole. It has a fungistatic action, and it is this drug is effective in the immunocompromised patients. And also the steroid hormone synthesis inhibition, which is there with ketoconazole, this is absent in itraconazole. And also serious hepatotoxicity is also rare with the itraconazole. As far as kinetics is concerned, oral absorption of the itraconazole is enhanced by food and gastric acidity. We saw fluconazole, it is unaffected by the food and gastric acidity, but oral absorption of itraconazole is enhanced. It is increased by presence of food and gastric acidity. It is highly protein bound drug, and it has a large volume of distribution, about 10 liters per kg, and it accumulates in the vagina, mucus, skin, and nails. But the penetration in the CSF is poor, and it is largely metabolized in the liver, and active metabolite is also produced, and it is excreted in the feces. And the T half of the itraconazole varies from 24 to 40 hours. So coming to the adverse effects of the itraconazole, it is a well tolerated drug. Doses below 200 milligram per day, but doses above 400 milligram per day, it is not tolerated well, and adverse effects like dizziness, pruritus, headache, hypokalemia, these are the common side effects, as well as plasma transaminase levels can also increase, and liver damage is also reported. However, the anti-androgenic effect and other hormonal adverse effects which we see with ketoconazole, these are not seen with the itraconazole. And it is also seen that uh, there is impairment of the left ventricular function, and in some of the patients who are having prolonged treatment with the itraconazole. And itraconazole is also teratogenic. It is teratogenic, and therefore it has to be avoided during the pregnancy. As far as the drug interactions are concerned, we know that it is having oral viabilities increase in presence of the acid, gastric acidity, and in presence of food. So if the oral absorption, if the S2 blockers, proton pump inhibitors, antacids are given, so just like ketoconazole, the oral absorption of itraconazole is reduced because the pH. So these drugs will increase the pH. Then coming to the different uses of itraconazole, itraconazole. So these are before going to the uses about the drug interaction, we have already discussed that itraconazole, it also causes enzyme inhibition. It increases plasma levels of other drugs like phenytoin, sulfonylurea, statins, warfarin. So these drugs, the blood levels, they will increase because of itraconazole, because it is a enzyme inhibitor. And also some other drugs like HIV protease inhibitors and clarithromycin, they can decrease the metabolism of itraconazole, and then by decreasing they can increase the levels of the drug. So these little drug interactions are there with azoles, and itraconazole has the many maximum number of the drug interactions as compared to the different azoles. So different uses of azoles is, it is a preferred antifungal drug, and it is useful in the systemic mycosis, those systemic mycosis which is not associated with meningitis, because CSF penetration is poor. And in cases of histoplasmosis, blastomycosis, porotrichosis, it is superior to the fluconazole. And for rare fungal infections like the paracoccidomycosis and chromomycosis, it is the drug of choice. Itraconazole is the drug of choice. And as far as chronic aspergillosis is concerned, itraconazole is providing some relief, and voriconazole, this is more superior in treating the chronic aspergillosis. And itraconazole is used in this condition. It is given 200 milligram once daily or twice daily. It is given with meals, because we know that oral absorption of itraconazole is increased with food. So it is given with meals with the food, and for a duration of about 3 months. In vaginal candidiasis also, 200 milligram of the itraconazole is given orally once daily and for 3 days. It is given. This particular dose is as effective as the intravaginal clotrimazole. In dermatophytosis also, 100 to 200 milligram once daily it is given for 7 to 15 days, and itraconazole is more effective than the griseofulvin. As far as onychomycosis is concerned also, itraconazole is more effective than brizofulvin. It is given as a 200 milligram per day dose for a period of 3 months. Even intermittent pulse therapy can also be given. In pulse therapy, the drug is given like itraconazole 200 milligram twice daily is given for a period of 1 week. Every month it is given. So for 3 months it is given and it is equally effective. Pityriasis versicolor, oral itraconazole is the drug of choice whenever the systemic therapy is needed, because if there is an extensive area of the skin which is involved, then systemic therapy with itraconazole is effective. Itraconazole is also the drug of choice for the um, Madura foot. Madura foot is Mycetoma pedis, which is occurring due to the actinomycetes. However, true fungal infections, that is eomycetoma, is resistant, and for this we need the surgery, including the amputation. So coming to the newer triazoles, voriconazole, which is a second generation broad spectrum triazole, is used systemically. It is introduced, it's a newer agent introduced for difficult to treat fungal infections. Voriconazole is a drug of choice for invasive aspergillosis disseminated infections, which are caused by the fluconazole resistant candida, in fusarium infections, as well as in febrile neutropenia, which is not responding to the antibacterial therapy, and it is also active against the histoplasmosis and blastomycosis. And the serious cases, first they are treated with the intravenous therapy, and this is followed by the oral voriconazole. In pharmacokinetics, it is completely absorbed orally, and however, with food, with fatty food, the viability of the drug is affected and it is reduced in presence of food. It is widely distributed into the tissues and metabolized extensively by the cytochrome, and it has a T half of 6 hours. As far as drug interactions are concerned, voriconazole is also enzyme inhibitor, and drug interaction profile is similar to the itraconazole. And as far as the kinetics is concerned, we know that the absorption is decreased by the fatty food. Also, if certain drugs like the H2 blockers or proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole, if it is given uh, in along with the voriconazole, the dose of omeprazole, if it is 40 milligram, it should be reduced to half whenever it is used along with voriconazole, because the viability of the drug is affected. As far as the adverse effects of the drug is concerned, rashes, photosensitivity, and increased liver enzymes. So the potential of causing the hepatotoxicity is there. Even QT prolongation, occurrence of the torsus de pointes can also occur. And short-lasting visual disturbances is common after the IV injection, and this is characterized by blurring of vision, photophobia, and altered color perception. Also, acute reaction is also possible. IV infusion may sometimes cause the anaphylactic reaction. So, this particular drug also has a teratogenic potential and it is contraindicated in pregnancy. And orally it is given as a 200 milligram twice daily, and we can see that it is used 1 hour before or 1 hour after meal, as food decreases the absorption of the voriconazole. And intravenously also it is used as a 6 milligram per kg 12 hourly dose, which is infused over 2 hours twice daily, and this is followed by 3 to 4 milligram per kg 12 hourly. And different preparations are available. 50 to 200 milligram tablets are available, and oral suspension is also available, 40 milligram per ml oral suspension, and injection it is available as a 200 milligram per vial injections preparation. Now coming to posaconazole. Posaconazole is considered as an antifungal drug with the broadest spectrum of activity. It is recently introduced broad spectrum triazole, and it has potent antifungal activity. It is indicated for salvage therapy for the difficult to treat fungal infections. It is having a high cost, and we are having limited experience with this new drug. So it is reserved for few conditions like the mucormycosis. So in mucormycosis, posaconazole is the only azole which has shown efficacy in the mucormycosis. It is useful in the non-responsive cases of the aspergillosis and invasive candidiasis. Here also it is used as, mainly it is used as a salvage therapy for the invasive aspergillosis and candidiasis, and as well as the mucormycosis. It is also useful in the febrile neutropenia and prophylaxis in the immunosuppressed patients. It is also useful in chromomycosis. In chromomycosis, it is posaconazole is used as an alternative to the itraconazole for the chromomycosis. And adverse effects, the side effects are common, but mostly they are limited to the occurrence of nausea, abdominal pain, loose motions, headache, dizziness, and drowsiness. As far as kinetics is concerned, posaconazole is many times it is administered as an oral suspension. The absorption is improved by the low pH and the fatty food. So in presence of acidity, gastric acidity, and fatty in food, it is absorption is improved, just like itraconazole and ketoconazole. T half is 24 hours, and it is partly metabolized by the cytochrome. And if you see the dose, 200 milligram or 400 milligram twice daily with meals, with food it is given, because food increases its absorption. And it is also available as a suspension, 200 milligram per 5 ml suspension. So it is available as a liquid for the oral use. As far as drug interaction is concerned, posaconazole can also increase the levels of drugs which are metabolized by the cytochrome enzyme. So we can summarize the pharmacokinetics, adverse effects, and uses of the azoles. As we know, the ketoconazole, we know that it is no longer used for systemic mycosis because of its slower response and because of its inhibitory effect on the adrenal and the gonadal steroid genesis, as well as occurrence of the hepatotoxicity. So ketoconazole has been replaced by itraconazole, fluconazole, which are devoid of these disadvantages. And as far as ketoconazole, you can see the water solubility and oral absorption. It is increased in the presence of the gastric acidity, and it has a T half 4 to 8 hours. And as far as hepatic elimination is concerned, so there can be mild increase in the liver enzymes. So it should not be prescribed in patients with the hepatic dysfunction. Also, we can see the major adverse effects, inhibition of the adrenal steroidogenesis is there. So, but we know that all these azoles, they have the broad spectrum of the action. We can see fluconazole and itraconazole, the triazoles, which are used systemically, fluconazole and itraconazole, they have the high, fluconazole has a high water solubility and it has oral absorption. 94% is absorbed, but this absorption is not affected by the food or the gastric pH. And it is given orally as well as IV. Even itraconazole and voriconazole are given by oral as well as IV route. And posaconazole is only given by the oral route. Ketoconazole is also given only by the oral route. And as far as the CSF concentration is concerned, we can see fluconazole, the CSF penetration is very good, but it has a renal elimination. Therefore, dose reduction is important in the renal impairment. And for itraconazole and voriconazole, the liver transaminase enzyme, there is increase, as well as liver damage is also reported with itraconazole. With voriconazole also, there is increase in the liver enzymes. As far as voriconazole is concerned, we can see the water solubility is high and oral absorption is completely absorbed orally. But the absorption is decreased in the presence of the food, that is in presence of fatty meals, the absorption is decreased. So it is given 1 hour before or 1 hour after meals, voriconazole. And as far as posaconazole is concerned, the absorption is increased in presence of food as well as low pH. So posaconazole is given along with the meals. So we can see that all these drugs, they have broad spectrum action and they are used in systemic mycosis. So the drugs which are used for systemic fungal infections, that is for treating the deep mycosis. So we can just have an idea about the different fungal disease. Like aspergillosis, we can see the drug of choice is amphotericin, whereas voriconazole is also superior drug as compared to itraconazole. Itraconazole also gives some relief in aspergillosis, and caspofungin is the other drug. Fluconazole is ineffective in aspergillosis. As far as blastomycosis is concerned, we can see amphotericin and itraconazole, both are drug of choice, and fluconazole is may be used as an alternative drug, and fluconazole is inferior to itraconazole as far as the treatment of blastomycosis is concerned. As far as candidiasis is concerned, mucosal candidiasis, cutaneous, oral, and vaginal candidiasis, fluconazole is useful, and in systemic mycosis, in disseminated systemic mycosis, amphotericin is useful, and also voriconazole is useful, and fluconazole or caspofungin is other alternatives. As far as mucosal thrush, oral thrush is concerned, nystatin or clotrimazole, they can also be simultaneously used topically. Then as far as the coccidioidomycosis is concerned, fluconazole and amphotericin B both are useful. In chromomycosis and pseudoleishmaniasis, amphotericin B is not effective, and we can see itraconazole is useful, and it is used as a salvage therapy in itraconazole in the patients with pseudoleishmaniasis and the fusarium infections. Then as far as the histoplasmosis is concerned, itraconazole is useful, and fluconazole is inferior to itraconazole in the treating the histoplasmosis. And in paracoccidomycosis, itraconazole is useful, and also amphotericin. And sporotrichosis also, itraconazole is useful, and so we can see also we can see in Cryptococcus meningitis, amphotericin is used along with flucytosine. So flucytosine is used as an adjunct with the amphotericin B, and usually ketoconazole is no more preferred as an antifungal drug because it inhibits the adrenal steroid genesis, and it has the hormonal side effects. And as far as the posaconazole is concerned in mucormycosis, we can see amphotericin is a drug of choice, and posaconazole is the only azole which has an efficacy in the mucormycosis. And in rare fungal infections like the paracoccidomycosis and chromomycosis, we can see itraconazole is the drug of choice. So we can conclude that the different azoles, imidazoles and triazoles, they are used for different systemic infections, that is deep mycosis, and also they are used topically for treating the superficial mycosis. We can conclude that for systemic infections, we are using the imidazoles like ketoconazole, and the triazoles, they are less toxic and they are more useful, like the itraconazole, fluconazole, voriconazole, and posaconazole, which we have discussed today, and some newer drugs like turconazole, butaconazole, as well as rabuconazole and isavuconazole. These are the newer agents, newer triazoles, which have been recently approved for treating the systemic fungal infections. And also, some of the topical agents we have discussed today in imidazoles, ketoconazole is systemically used as well as it is used topically. We have also discussed clotrimazole, meconazole, iconazole, and oxyconazole. So these drugs we have already discussed today. Besides, there are some other newer imidazoles which have been introduced recently, and they have been, we can see the butaconazole. Butaconazole is available as a systemic drug, as well as we are having a topical preparation also. Then tioconazole is available as ointment, as well as cetoconazole is available as a 500 milligram vaginal tablet, which are used for as a this topical application for the Candida vulvovaginitis. And cetoconazole I've already discussed in the part 1 of my videos. If you remember, it is a topical imidazole with a unique mechanism of action. So you can see my previous video. In part 1, I've already discussed the unique mechanism of action of cetoconazole. Besides this, there is isoconazole and fenticonazole, which are used mainly for the vaginal candidiasis. And terconazole, this is the only triazole which is available as a systemic preparation, as well as it is also available as a topical preparation. Terconazole is the only triazole which is available as a cream and as ovule for the vaginal use.